Hey guys, thanks so much for watching Common Sense Cooking. I'm James. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a Cajun Gumbo. So, as you know, if you've been following the channel for a little bit, the last several recipes have been covering, different ways you can use the spice blends that we covered, a few months ago. And so this is going to end that series as we cover Cajun seasoning. And this is also going to be a bit of a more complicated recipe. It's going to be much more in depth, and it's going to take longer than the other ones. A lot of my recipes, I try to make them, quick things that you can do, but every once in a while you want to make something nice, you want to, spend some more time on it, and this is one of those recipes. So we are actually going to start by preparing a chicken, roasting it, and then deboning the chicken and making a stock out of the bones. And then I'll show you how to make a roux. And then we'll take all those ingredients, the vegetable, sausage, all the other things, and you put it all together. But I'll take you step by step. We're going to start with the chicken. So here's my chicken. And you're going to want to salt it and go ahead and put your Cajun seasoning, Cajun spice blend that you made from the previous video. You're going to go ahead and salt and put all that on it the night before in the fridge, or like I ended up doing, you can just take it out of the fridge an hour before you're going to cook it and go ahead and put that on there. This is going to make a huge difference on how tender the chicken is going to be and how evenly it cooks. I mean, ultimately this is going to be stewed basically for a long time. So maybe this is one of the less necessary times to do this, but it's just a good practice. So I'm about to put this in my toaster oven. My toaster oven works a little bit better than my regular oven. I'm going to put this in there for, it's probably going to be about an hour at 425 degrees. And then once this is ready, we'll come back to it and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so my chicken took about 40 minutes in my toaster oven, and if you're using a regular oven, or it could be a lot of different circumstances, it may take an hour, even up to an hour and a half, but like in my case it might be a little bit less. If you kind of pull on the leg and split it open and you see clear liquid in there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Whether it's done or not, there will be some liquid when you pull apart the leg. If that is clear instead of pinkish, then you know that your bird is ready. But then you can also check the internal temperature with a thermometer and make sure it's at least 165 degrees. I'll probably do a whole episode just on roast chicken, or just chicken in general. That's something my family and I eat a lot of, so that'll be down the road. But we'll just kind of get back to the main recipe here. So I pulled apart the chicken, put it separate. We'll use that in the gumbo later. And then here is all the drippings and the bones. Also, if you have any issue pulling some of the meat off of certain parts of the bones, kind of like the wings, that can be difficult. No loss if you just throw pieces in the stock. It'll flavor it and you'll eat it anyway. So anyway, I'm just gonna add some water to this. I put in 8 cups of water here just to cover up the bones. I probably won't need 8 cups of stock for the gumbo, we'll see. But I would say, for the average chicken, if you want, just a good around the, multi-use stock, probably about 8 to 10 cups of water per one chicken carcass is probably gonna get you right there. So I'm doing 8 cups of water to cover up this chicken carcass. I'm gonna put mine in an electric pressure cooker for 6 hours. If you are using the stovetop, you'll just want to simmer it probably for 6 to 8 hours to make sure that you get all the stock out. If you're not used to that, then that might seem pretty extreme. It may seem like a lot. Obviously, you can always buy stock separately at the store, but this is how I do it. Alright, so this is going to go in the pressure cooker overnight, and then tomorrow I will finish the gumbo. Alright, so it's the next day for me. We got our chicken stock that we made overnight, the chicken that we made the day before. You want at least a pound, probably for this recipe, because I did kind of bump it up a little bit in my mind. probably closer to 2 pounds of sausage, and we got some veggies here. We'll go over each of the ingredients one by one so it's more understandable. First thing we're going to want to do before making the roux is basically prepare all our vegetables. So I'll get started with that. Of course, always honing my knife. 2 diced onions, 2 bell peppers, then 1 bunch of celery. So we have one of the bases of Cajun cooking, which is the Trinity, not to be confused for the Holy Trinity, and do not use the term Holy Trinity for this. But this is the Trinity of vegetables, the 3 vegetables that go in a lot of Cajun cooking. We have lots of garlic. I think this is a whole head of garlic we're going to put in. But we do want to make sure before we start the roux, we're going to make sure that we have everything we need chopped so that we can just focus on the roux. The roux and the Trinity of vegetables along with the garlic. I mean, we'll probably do an episode where we just take that concept and, you know, put some other things in it, and you're going to have Cajun tasting dish. I'm going to finish up the garlic and chop up the sausage, and then we'll get to the stovetop to start that roux. Oh, by the way, this is smoked sausage, and Dewey sausage is the most traditional and probably the best sausage that you could use for this, but it's not always easy to find, so just pick whatever your favorite smoked sausage is, and it'll work just fine. So the recipe I'm using is, my wife's family is from Louisiana. I've been introduced to a lot more Louisiana food since being married to her, through my mother-in-law mostly. So I asked her about her recipe, and she sent me roughly what she does, and so I tried to stick pretty close to that tradition, pretty close to the recipe that she sent me. And but she also said that she doesn't hardly ever use andouille sausage just because it's hard to find. And I mean, I've always thought her gumbo was absolutely delicious, so I'm not too worried about it. This is just smoked sausage I found at my market. It'll do. Alright, now we're going to get the roux started. I'm going to get the pan going at a high heat. I'm just going to heat up the pan on high heat right now. Then I'm going to add a cup of lard, bacon grease, of pig fat, lard, or some kind of oil that has a very high smoke point. This is coconut oil because it's what I happen to have. Definitely bacon grease. Lard is going to be your best, most flavorful option. I just don't have any. Okay, so here's our cup of oil, high smoke point oil. And once that gets really hot, we're going to add an equal amount of flour, as you'll see in a moment. Alright, also, you're going to want to make sure to have an oven mitt ready so that you can, grab the pot while you're stirring and you can control everything. Nothing gets out of hand. You basically want to set it up to where, nothing is going to have to take you away to go grab something else. So I have a whisk as well as a scraper, just to make sure that I'm fully covered on being able to move around all the different parts. Well, I'm sure you guys noticed, but I didn't. I had the heat on the wrong, not under the pot. Alright, there we go. So now I have it on high heat. My oil's already in there. Just gonna let that melt down. Good grief. Alright. I think our oil is pretty hot at this point, so I'm gonna turn down the heat to probably medium-high. A little closer to medium. Might slow this down a little bit for this, just to make sure I don't mess this up. I'm going to add in a cup of flour, so that's equal parts oil to flour. And here we go. Yeah. Now we start stirring. Make sure without splashing yourself. You just get the oil and the flour all melted together. That's the first step. And then once you have one homogeneous state, just keep on stirring it. Make sure no corners, no parts of it get left untouched. As you can see, I mean, you might have looked up other recipes for gumbo. Usually it starts out white and then it goes to blonde. We've jumped straight to peanut butter. That's just because I let it heat up so much. So, you know, that beginning part was very crucial for me because I am doing it at such a high heat. But we're going to get to the final product a lot faster, and that's my preference. My wife is a completely different personality though, and this would be one example where she would probably do it as slow as she could, and that's what she would feel more comfortable with. So, you know, this can be done multiple ways. You don't have to do it really fast. You can do it low and slow. But, you know, for my personality, I'm more likely to burn it if I tried to do it slow. You know you're getting it right if, you know, it looks kind of peanut buttery, but it should also kind of smell, not peanut buttery necessarily, but like nutty. That's one of the main characteristics of a roux. It does have a nutty smell, a nutty flavor. Oh, this is smelling really good already. I also tried to do a gluten-free gumbo, and it worked out really well. But what I did is I used brown rice flour, and the roux turned out delicious. But what I didn't account for is that in the brown rice, it's going to have oils from the husk that do not have a high smoke point. And so while everything else was cooking just fine, those oils were, you know, smoking and kind of smoked the house up pretty bad. So I do actually plan on doing some kind of gluten-free roux recipe in the future. Obviously this is not a fasting recipe. This is going to be for, you know, more for celebration or just, you know, typical non-fasting time, whatever you're doing. But this would be a great recipe for you to take, you know, to coffee hour after church for a special celebration like Pascha or something. You know, a good gumbo is, you know, really special thing that you could bring. So you might be making a big batch like this, and you also might have a lot of people in your church, like I do, who are intolerant to gluten. And so I figure it would be really beneficial if I can do a good one that's not going to smoke up your house. So I'll get back to you on that. Whew. It's starting to burn my fingertips a little bit. We're getting there. It smells very rich, very nutty. Oh, it smells good. There we go. I'm going to switch over to this. Get my fingers a little bit further away. If I had a normal whisk, it wouldn't be a problem. I don't know why I don't have a normal whisk. I have a cooking show, but not a normal whisk. Alright, we're getting pretty close. It's starting to smoke a little bit. Everything is reaching its limit. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit now that we're in the final stretch. What we want is a dark chocolate. We already have a nice chocolatey look. What we want is a dark chocolate. Alright. Now, quickly grab your trinity of vegetables. Throw them in there. Alright, and start stirring everything together. This is probably where I should grab a harder spatula. Alright. Make sure none of the roux is sticking on the bottom, but get it to coat all of the vegetables. And you can still burn the roux. Obviously it's still in here, but you're about to release some moisture from the vegetables, and that's going to help a lot. I'm going to turn it back up to a medium-high heat. It's going to help get the moisture out of the vegetables a little faster. Is a nice pinch of salt or two. Yep. Alright, and we're just going to stir these vegetables until they're nice and, at least the onions are translucent. That'll be a good indicator of when that part's ready. I'm gonna add a little bit of the stock now. Just a tiny bit, just to get some more moisture in there. There we go. The vegetables weren't releasing liquid fast enough, and I was afraid. You just want to make sure that you get a bit of a gravy out of the roux. And if the vegetables aren't producing enough moisture, you know, add a little bit of the stock. We'll add the rest later. Right now, we don't want too much liquid. Alright, now that the onions are starting to get translucent, I'm going to go ahead and add in our garlic and our Cajun spice blend. I actually ran out of some of my own, and I had some store-bought one that already has the salt in it. If you want to know how to make a Cajun spice blend and why I call it a spice blend and not a seasoning, also why I don't put salt in mine, if you want to understand all that, I'll link my video for the spice blends up above, and you can make your own and also understand kind of the benefits of keeping your salt and your seasoning separate. But I'll just account for that when adding any other salt to mine. I put probably close to a couple tablespoons. It's whatever I had left, but I would say probably a couple tablespoons in this batch. If this batch ends up being too big for what you want, you can always half it, quarter it, you know, whatever you need. I tried to keep all the ingredients in pretty good numbers. It would be easy to kind of cut in half or a quarter for smaller recipes. Once you start smelling the garlic, once that starts opening up and you know it's blending in there, we're gonna add in our chicken stock. I have 8 cups here. Let's see, that's 2 quarts of chicken stock. That was from 1 chicken carcass. I would say it's either a strong stock to normal to strong. As far as like what you would buy in the containers, it's probably a little bit stronger than that. So if I just need to add some more water to this, you know, we'll see. Nice. All right. We have a few bay leaves we're also going to throw in here. Stir this all up. Go ahead and add, alright, you stop that. Add a little bit more salt. There's pepper in the Cajun spice, but it doesn't hurt to add some more. Alright, mix that in. This we'll go ahead and put in our meats. No, that was not all of the sausage. Remember, we've got about 2 pounds here of sausage. And probably 2 pounds of chicken. And that was the hardest part of all. So we're gonna have to put a lid on this and leave it for at least 2 hours. As of now, the roux that we made with the flour, you know, if you taste flour by itself, it doesn't have a very nice flavor. But you know, you taste a cake, you taste, you know, anything that has flour in it, it's really nice. Well, it takes a long time to cook flour to that to bring in the right flavor. So, you know, even though we've already finished the roux, we're gonna have to let this cook for another at least 2 hours. We'll see what it tastes like in an hour. You know, I'll try to find the smallest amount for this batch to where it has the right flavor, and I'll let you know. But yeah, so now we're just gonna let this simmer. Once this comes up to a boil, I'm gonna turn down the heat and just keep it at a bare simmer. Just a bare simmer for you know, hour or two, we'll see. All right, here's the moment of truth. So a couple of adjustments I made since I did let it go for about 2 hours bubbling. I tried it before that, and you could still taste a little bit of the, I don't know, that unpleasant bitter taste that raw flour has. So I let it go for a couple of hours at a bare simmer, and then it lost some water, so I added some more water to it because it was very thick, very fatty. Also, I mean, my stock was very thick. Everything in there was very thick, and I do not believe in skimming off or taking the fat off the top. So what I did to balance it out, instead of taking away and wasting anything, I did add a little bit of vinegar, apple cider vinegar to it. I don't know that it's really traditional, maybe in some families it is, but I felt like for mine, that's what it needed to balance it out. And vinegar is something that is readily available anywhere. So let's give it a try. Get a little bit of everything in there. And I would definitely love to have this with some rice. I didn't make any rice. I probably will. Yeah, this is really good. I feel like all the flavors balance well. It definitely tastes better after putting a glug or two of vinegar in it. I think I have come across a recipe that put some wine in it, which would have been kind of for the same purpose. Yeah, I would say I think this was a huge success. This is really delicious. It still is pretty strong, pretty thick. I don't think that there would be a lot of complaints about that, but definitely with some rice, something to kind of curb some of that. I guess that's true. I've always had gumbo with rice. This is just by itself, so I bet with some rice it would balance out a lot better. But this is definitely the best batch of gumbo that I've made. I mean, I haven't made very many, but I've played around with it a little bit before making this video. And this is my best batch. So anything I did with this one, I will definitely put in the recipe. Let me know what you think. Obviously, if it's too thick, you can just add some more water to it. Add water as necessary after the cooking process. Add water until it gets to the right consistency. I probably won't. I'll just make some rice to go with it. But man, this will be a great lunch. I'm looking forward to finishing this bowl, probably getting another. Thank you guys so much. This is definitely one of the more complex recipes. I covered a lot of different things, but I really enjoyed doing that, going a little bit more into a complicated one than normal. So have a lot of ideas, a lot of new content that I want to put out coming up. Click like and subscribe. That really helps me out. Share this video with anyone you think would be interested, and definitely click on the link in the description below for the website. Go to my website and subscribe to the email list. I'm not that into social media, so I'm not going to really use that for announcing when I'm going to change things, upload things. It's all going to be through the email list. So if you'll sign up there, that would really help me out, help me to stay connected with you, so that if there is something that I'm going to put out that interests you, I can make sure that you get it. So I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless. Bye.